Ko'apau. This is Kaiopua 5 Hanaho with Voices of Truth, one-on-one with Hawaii's future. Another beautiful day here in Hawaii. We're on Oahu, and if you know the palace grounds, that's what you're going to see in our background. So we're very pleased to have with us from Maui, Joyclynn Costa, and we're going to learn a little bit about who she is and what she does, and maybe we can get you folks interested in doing some of the things that you need to have as your responsibility, your kuleana in your communities. Joyclynn, mahalo for being with us.
Oh, mahalo.
Aloha. Thank you for coming, and we're glad you could make the time to be with us, and everything's worked out. You know the background on our objective with these video sessions, and that's so what we're going to be communicating to our people is what you do, and maybe it's not exactly what they do, but we want to encourage people to find their kuleana in their community. You know, I think we all have responsibilities. Some people just aren't lucky enough to have found them yet. So why don't we start with a little bit of background on yourself, whatever you want to share about yourself, and you know how you move forward to where you are today, and then maybe we get into some of the discussions of the hot topic that is driving you right now.
Well, first of all, I'd like to mahalo you for this opportunity to have a venue to be able to speak out and have a voice in today's issues here in Hawaii. I'm a Kamehameha graduate. Unfortunately, the things that I have learned now was not taught to me in that educational process.
Right.
It's been a process that I've had to endure myself. I was caught up in the world of the state of Hawaii. I was caught up with the idea that this is what we have and what we are left with. And about 4.5, 5 years ago, I learned that there was a different story and a different twist. And so I wanted to know more, and I started doing research. First with different groups, you know, feeling out whom I felt was the best avenue. And what I learned was you yourself as an individual is where you need to start. And so my place that I put myself in was the law library in Wailuku, Maui. And I found myself sitting there reading books.
So I guess you got the good basic education that most Kamehameha grads have, and but you didn't get the stuff about some of the history that a lot of us learned way after the fact, much later in life.
Correct. But make no mistake, I appreciate the opportunity to have gone to that school.
Sure.
To appreciate our ali'i and be in tune with our culture in that retrospect. But there was something deeper, and I didn't realize what I was missing. And so in my adult life, I thought life was about raising your family, going to work, and paying a bunch of bills.
Sure.
And once I started learning that there was more to that, the first thing I did was quit my career. And
great.
I had a wonderful career.
I think I'll quit my job and start doing what I want to do, huh?
Yeah. Well, I felt it was necessary for it to be a 100% effort. And I could not split myself. And so after talking with my family, knowing the sacrifice that we would be going through, it was agreed upon that I would be allowed to do this research. And so,
essentially no paycheck coming in from you.
No paycheck coming in. So, you know, it was rough, but it was a humbling experience. And it made us realize that the importance of the dollar was a farce. You know, the family was more important, and even more so the truth.
Right.
And so I delved into my church, and I got spiritually connected. And I also went to the law library, and I became educated as far as how our kingdom operated.
So you were studying kingdom law?
I was studying kingdom. Well, I didn't realize I was studying kingdom law. All I knew was I was studying the cases and how they came to decide what our rights were. And so I'd only pick specific volumes because I didn't find the volumes of today being pertinent to me. Volume 1 through, say, 13, maybe 15 was more of what I was looking for. Because I wanted, you hear people say, that's our land. The kupuna said we own that. Other people talk about royal patents. Other people talk about land commission awards, probates. And so I wanted to know if that had any merit and truth to it. And so I started reading. And when I started reading, I realized in these cases, they give you information like what our rights are. They give us genealogy. They give us hope and the encouragement that we can win.
So your focus seemed to go in the direction of land primarily, the land issues?
That's what I was looking for. I was looking for land issues. My first objective was to see if I had any family members that had gone to court. Because in the back of these books, there's an index, and it'll have names, proper names, that you can look up if the cases came up with your families.
Right.
But a lot of times if they were represented by someone, you're not going to find, per se, your family name. So then I went into just issues itself. And today, what I found was today's laws, the HRS, is actually founded on kingdom law. So I said, well, why is that important? And what it made me realize was that the kingdom laws are still in effect today. Because in order for you to base a law on a kingdom law, then that's the origin of that law. I started doing more research on that land issue, and I found this one particular law in the HRS 172-11. And I constantly repeat this, 172-11. And what I encourage everyone to do is look at the origin of that law. And that law is from 1872, chapter 21, section 1. And what it basically says is the royal patent, based on the Board of Commissioners to Quiet Land Title, that awardee is the only holder. Whether he's deceased, or they say whether the real estate has been alienated, meaning sold off, he is still the title holder. So I was like, wow, everybody talks about title. So this law is telling me our kupuna is the title holder. And then
no matter what's happened since.
Even if he's dead,
they
cannot take that title away from him. It's in that law. More so, it's in the 1872 law. So then it goes on to say it benefits, the title benefits and inures to the heirs and assign. So when I read that law, I said, what is this word, inure? So I looked it up in my Black's Law Dictionary, and it says to begin. So I said, oh, so when we're born, we begin our interest or our rights to that title. But it still didn't fit. It didn't complete a win for us if we was to maybe go to court or, be challenged in any possible way.
Right.
And I guess I would say a spiritual divine came through me and said, girl, you're reading a law from 1800s, 1872.
Right.
Why are you looking at a dictionary of 2000? So I got a hold of the Bouvier Dictionary of 1800s, and I looked up the word inure. The word inure defines it as a life estate. So all of the beneficiaries, the heirs and assigns, now inherit a life estate from that title holder. So I said, okay, now what is this about life estate? Well, I found a case in the law library, one of the very first cases that I came across. And let me backtrack a bit. When I walked into that law library, the first thing that hit me was the volume 3 of the Hawaii Reporter was sticking out of the shelf amongst the entire volume.
You're saying,
So I said,
come pick me, huh?
there you go. So I pulled it, and I opened that volume up like a Bible. Just pull it on the by bala and it just opened. And it brought me to cases of Lunalilo. One of the cases of Lunalilo was that his father, Kanaina, he had passed on. And so his estate had gone back to a property that was sold and told him that you now need to return the property. You no longer have legal occupation here.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, I have a deed and here's my payment. So they said, well, everything looks authentic, bring it to court. And when they did that, they looked at the document, they said, oh, you're correct. You paid him, you tendered him this amount of money, and you've had that property in your possession ever since. However, what Mr. Kanaina possessed was a life estate. In Lunalilo's will, he gave to his father a life estate, which meant when he was no longer alive, he no longer had an interest in the property. So what you bought was, as long as he was alive, an interest. So now the property has to go back to the original owner,
Prior
which
to
is
that.
Lunalilo. So they said, but we paid. You know, this is an outrage. What about our money? They said, well, go see the equity court. You're in the land court.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if you'll win that case because he fulfilled that contract by allowing you the use of that land for as long as he lived. So now we come back to the law of 1872 and the HRS of today. What does it tell us? You know, a lot of us say, oh, we lost our land. You know, my auntie sold it, my kupuna sold it. But what did they really sell? If they were not the title holder and they just had a life interest,
They lost their,
and they passed on.
yeah. When the title holder passed on, all bets are off and it goes back to prior to that.
It goes right back in the pot.
You know, interesting, you mentioned Kanaina, and here we are, right in front of the Kanaina building. It says archives, but that's what the name of the building is Kanaina.
Then maybe that's why I'm telling this story today.
As we're walking around here, right in front of it.
Chicken skin, I'm telling you, everything that has come upon me for the last 4 or 5 years has been spiritual. And I truly believe that. My other mission today is I want to go to Central Union Church and speak to the president of the United Church of Christ and voice our opinions because of the apology that they offered us in 1993.
Right.
And I'd like them to do a follow-up here in the island and see if it was a successful apology that, you know, the start of their restoration. And I charge them to come and bring the delegation back.
Yeah, and I think for those who may not be aware, in 1993, not only the United States apologized, but the United Church of Christ also apologized.
Absolutely.
The difference in the two apologies, though, was the United Church of Christ
Began a process.
Began a process and actually offered retribution.
Correct.
In the form of some cash and some property.
Correct.
And so forth. And so, yeah, my understanding, I'd heard something that they were going to come back and follow up on that and kind of see where it's at and how they can re-emphasize, you know, their apology. So that's going to be interesting. I'm glad that you're able to get over here with us prior to going there because I know that's very important too. And I know we have a lot of people over there. It was interesting because in 1993, when we were here at the palace, there was a simultaneous discussion going on with the United Church of Christ. So there's so many things happening, just as there are today.
That's today.
And they're back again today.
On a significant day.
Yeah.
Well, back in June of 2009, I was invited to go and speak about the land issues at the United Church of Christ General Synod, which they have every so many years. And I had an opportunity to meet Paul Sherry prior to going up. He came to visit and he was at Kaumakapili Church.
Right.
So I had asked him about this delegation that I would appreciate him to put together.
Right.
But regretfully, because he's not in position, he said he would not be able to do that, but he'd pass on that communication. So when I went up to the General Synod, I carried a petition. And what this petition said was real simple. for them to honor that apology that they had offered us, and to support the decision of the Hawaii Supreme Court not to sell any lands until the claims of the people of Hawaii has been resolved.
Right.
And so divine intervention brought me in front of Paul Sherry again up at the General Senate. So he signed the first line on my petition.
Wow.
Then I met up with John Thomas, who was the president at the time of the United Church of Christ, who signed this same petition right under Paul Sherry. So I went to the conference minister of the state of Hawaii, Charles Buck. He signed directly under the current president of the United Church of Christ. And
That's quite significant, because there was a little bit of frustration in '93 or prior to that leading up. I know, because the UCC folks from America actually were more enthusiastic about making this happen than UCC folks here in Hawaii, if I remember correctly.
This is correct.
Yeah.
But because I had acquired those two signatures, the conference minister was willing to sign this petition.
Fantastic.
Then I was put in front of Geoffrey Black, and he signed the petition. He was the incoming president at the time. So at the date of this document, what I had was the past, Paul Sherry, the present, John Thomas, and the future, which is Geoffrey Black.
Let me ask you a question, something that occurred to me while we were talking. Are you a member of the church?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of appropriate for you as a member of the church to, even if you weren't. But I think you're probably more comfortable being as a member of the church at communicating with them and participating.
Absolutely. Like I said, it's divine intervention. When I was up at the General Senate, that was the last signature I needed on my petition. And so I needed to find him in the mass of thousands of people. This is an international event, the General Senate. So I went into one of the services that was being held. I found me a seat, sat down, and I tapped the woman's shoulder in front of me, and I said, "Is Geoffrey Black speaking today?" And she says, "Yes, he is." I said, "Do you think I'll be able to get to speak to him?" She goes, "Well, why don't you ask his wife?"
Sitting nearby?
Right next to her.
No kidding.
And so she said, "What do you need, dear?" I said, "I need to speak to your husband. I have this petition that I'd like him to sign on behalf of the Hawaiian people." She goes, "You stay right here, I'll call him."
My goodness.
And so I have him in a picture, and I told him, "Could you please just stand there with the pen in hand so I can get a picture of you signing this petition?" He said, "Certainly." So he posed for this picture. And after it was signed, then he and I, his wife, took a picture of he and I holding the petition.
Fantastic. Actually, I think what we're listening to is everybody else who came before us, and all of this wisdom that exists around us and even within us that we don't even know about.
Yes.
And we're kind of like the tool,
Yes.
the delivery system.
We've forgotten, because of all the busyness around us, to be able to hear.
Yeah.
And I think if we bring ourselves to that place of quiet, we'll be able to hear. Sometimes it's not in the words, but it's in the listening. So
You have a real concrete responsibility, because we're relating to Aina and land issues, but it's also interwoven with a spiritual commitment and involvement.
Without that, it'll be hard for you. May be able to if you're cunning enough, but it'll be hard for you to accomplish the truth.
Yeah.
Without that connection.
Yeah.
We were all spiritually connected, Sometimes kick your shoes off, put your feet on the ground. Just that simple motion of grounding yourself literally can help you.
Yeah. Wiggle your toes in the lepo sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. With all of your study, when we get back to land issues, when this weekend is over and you accomplish, your current topic with the church, and you go back home to Maui, then what do you resume doing?
Oh, it's a never-ending learning process. I am not knowing all, and I do not profess to know all. Nor do I tell everybody what I tell you is correct. I would rather them doubt me and go find out for themselves, because that's how I learn. When I was a follower, I was just robotic. Yes, okay, fill in the blank, you know, this is it. I just believed that that was the truth without even knowing what the truth was. So when I put myself in a place of I have to do it, I have to know this, I have to be able to speak it and know what I'm talking about, it became more clear, and you don't become afraid anymore to say what you need to say.
So are you operating like just an expert in the field, or a paralegal, or
I am not an attorney.
Just
I
a
do not
result of
practice
studying,
law.
yeah.
I'm just a student learning about who we are, regaining that identity that has been, I cannot say stolen, but has been layered
over
to the point where we are confused as to who we are and what we have.
Right.
And what I learned is we are who we were. No different.
Yeah.
It's still the same.
Yeah. It's that realization, though. You know, it took generations because we had a lot of disconnection.
Absolutely.
You know, and you talked about layers. You get so many layers of paint over something, pretty soon you don't even know what's underneath. It even hides the features, you know. You can paint a piece of woodwork, and before you know it, you keep adding layers, you don't even know what's under it.
Take, for instance, several counties now have come up with what they call the Coulee tax exempt. Have you heard of that?
No.
They say that if you are living on your Kuleana from the time of the Mahele and you can prove your genealogy, then they're going to exempt your tax. And most of the islands have exempted it down to 150 basic, just one base price. Well, when they came to Maui,
$150 fee.
Yeah, for your no matter how big it is, because it's Kuleana. So when it came to Maui, and with the learnings that we're going through, we looked at it and we went, hey, they're quoting kingdom law. In the document, it authors the law of 1850, the Kuleana Act. And so we went in front of our county council because they were going to legislate it through our council. And we said, you know, we understand the intent that you're wanting to help us, but if you read this document, it's verbatim our Kuleana Act of 1850. And in there it states we didn't have to pay taxes. So we don't understand why you're wanting to redo it again. It's already been done, and you've already recognized it in this document. So although it may have been a gallant opportunity for you to express your concerns to us, thank you, but no thank you. Well, our council passed it through unanimously anyway. But what they did do was amend the bill. And what they did was, instead of being exempt to 150, they said, hey, you know what? That Kuleana Act of 1850 said they didn't have to pay tax, so we're going to make it zero. So for the ones that feel that they need to be in that box and system to safeguard their land, then they can go into there until such time as they're more confident to stand on their own Kuleana. But for those who already have Kuleana, they don't really have to be in that box.
You know, we somehow we just almost ran totally out of time. We just got a little bit of time left. But hopefully, you don't mind if people get in touch with you, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, we'll put your contact information on. And maybe get some questions, because I know there's some other people working on this, but there are a lot of frustrated folks out there. And hopefully you may have addressed, I'm sure, issues that exist everywhere in Hawaii and among a lot of ohana. So we're going to have to wind this up, and I'm sorry that it seemed like the time just flew, but we're very pleased that you could be with us, Joyclynn. Mahalo nui.
Thank you.
And we thank those of you who are watching in for being with us. And if you, as most ohana, have some land issues, take a listen, watch this tape several times. Once again, mahalo from Kaiohua 5 with the Kiwani Foundation, one-on-one with Hawaii's Future, and we're part of the Free Hawaii Broadcasting System. Hui ho.
Mahalo for watching Voices of Truth one-on-one with Hawaii's Future. Watch us on the web 24/7 at voicesoftruth.tv.com. You'll find all our shows, including this one, in case you want to see it again or share it with family and friends. Also view our weekly video commentaries at freehawaiitv.com. And check out our blog, published daily, at freehawaii.info. It's all part of the Free Hawaii Broadcasting Network.